we'll get this meeting called to order, and the first thing on the agenda is Vice Mayor Adam Dixon going to do our opening prayer. So stand, please.
Let us all pray. Dear Lord, we thank you, God, for the wonderful blessings that you provide, this health and strength that you have given each and every one of us to see, to stand, God, and to live. We're just grateful, God, for what you give. We're grateful, God, for how you empower. We're grateful, God, for all that you are and what you mean to us. As always, we thank you for a community in which to live where we are neighbors. God, we want to work together, God, to just do right by each other and ultimately glorify you. Lord, we do ask, God, that you bless those that are grieving. We ask, God, that you bless those that are part of our town staff here that are dealing with death, dealing with sickness, dealing with a variety of issues. You are a comforter, and we appreciate you for that. We ask, God, that you guide this meeting and our deliberations. Everything be to your glory, and we ask it, Lord, in your name we pray, God. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Adam. Ruth, the valuable Ruth, who do you have to lead the pledge tonight?
Cameo Waters.
All right. All right, Cameo.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Cameo and Ruth. All right, Madam Recorder. Roll call, please.
Mayor Bass.
Here.
Alderman Callahan.
Here.
Alderman Causey.
Here.
Alderman Countermine.
Here.
Alderman
Here.
All right, we're all present, and I'm going to change the agenda up slightly, but we're going to move into the consent agenda, and then I'll kind of change it up at that point. Our consent agenda does have, quite a few things on it, 9 things there. Most of them just reports. I've got the town administrator report, the operations manager report. That's just where they update the board here on things that they've done the last month or so. We've also approved the minutes from our last meeting and approval of paying our bills. The town of Jonesboro loves to pay the bills. We got our committee reports, which is something that all of our volunteers around town who participate in our committee, we're so thankful for that we get a chance to read some of the things that they've discussed in those meetings, and then our supervisor reports from all our different departments. We got an employee retirement, and then we're going to hire some people. So that's mostly what the agenda is. We do have a change order 9, which is our Jackson Theater project down there. There's a slight change order there where we found a concrete floor we thought might be level, and it's not quite level, so we're going to have to do that so we can move on, but that's really it. Alderman, do you have any issues with the consent agenda? If not, I'll take a motion.
Move to approve.
All right, got a motion to approve from Alderman Countermine.
I'll second.
We got a second from Alderman Dixon. Any discussion?
Mayor, if I might.
Yes.
One thing that was on the consent agenda but needs to be specifically in the minutes is that you all are being presented with this debt obligation report. And that does need to be reflected in the minutes, so I'd like to just ask that be noted as part of the consent agenda approval.
All right, please note point 8 in our minutes. That's the one thing I didn't mention, Jim.
I understand.
All right, that's why we have Jim here. Madam Recorder, call for the vote, please.
Alderman Countermine.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Now, before we get into the rest of the agenda, I'm going to move something to the front. We've got a very special thing that we're doing tonight, and that's Marion Mckinney. The McKinney family is very special to the town of Jonesboro, very valuable. The family wants to establish a needs-based scholarship program for children in grades kindergarten through 8th grade at the McKinney Center for classes. And the McKinney family's made a rather large contribution to get that started, and we'll be fundraising to try to add more to that. So tonight, we're going to pass a resolution to do that. I will step down front and read that resolution, and then we'll ask the board to accept that. be like me again, but I'll make sure we respectively do this. Says, whereas Dr. Ernest McKinney was born in Chesney, South Carolina on November 26, 1923, and moved with his family to Johnson City in 1936. And whereas Dr. McKinney earned a bachelor's degree from agriculture in Jonesboro College in Nashville in 1947, and married his wife of 59 years, Marion Mckinney, in 1950. And whereas Dr. Ernest McKinney, beginning in 1953, served as a teacher and principal at Booker T. Washington School, now home of the McKinney Center for the Arts, and also served as principal at Langston High School and taught at Science Hill High School, where he has also served as assistant principal. And whereas Dr. McKinney earned his Master's in Education from East Tennessee State University in 1964 and was awarded an honorary doctorate in education from East Tennessee State University in 2006. And whereas Dr. McKinney also became the first African American selected to the board of Mayor and Alderman of the town of Jonesboro, April 4, 1968. And whereas Dr. McKinney was reelected to the board of Mayor and Alderman in 1978 and was the first African American elected to the Washington County School Board in 1980, eventually becoming the chairman of the school board. And whereas Miss Marion Mckinney served as a counselor for decades in the Washington County school system and positively affected the lives of many school-aged children and served the town of Jonesboro on many committees such as the Public Safety Committee and Senior Center Advisory Committee. And whereas the McKinney son, Mr. Kevin B. McKinney, was elected to the Jonesboro Mayor and Alderman for 12 years and served as mayor of the town for those 9 of those years, during which many long-term improvements were initiated. And whereas the legacy of the McKinney family is their love for their community, their desire to work for a better quality of life for all people, and their personal character in which truth, compassion, and love are the guiding principles. And whereas the town of Jonesboro wishes to recognize the contributions of Dr. Ernest McKinney to the people of the town of Jonesboro, Washington County, and our surrounding community. We'll be passing that resolution tonight. We thank you and your family for everything that you've done for our town, and will do for our town for many years to come. We thank you for our scholarship. Is there anything you'd like to say to the people?
On behalf of the McKinney family, we'd like to put a down payment on the scholarship for elementary age children to the McKinney Center of $1,100.
Thank you. I'm certain we'll put that to good use up there, and it'll be something that'll last a long time and many decades going forward. So thank you.
Hope it does.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
That's excellent.
I'm sorry.
How can you donate to that? How can you donate to that, you know?
Thank you. So, do you know that amount of money's coming out? Let me grab my papers there.
We sang for a couple of his wives.
Glenn, do we need to do anything on that resolution? Yep. we
Yes,
need to-
sir.
All right, Alderman, you've heard the resolution, and idea behind it. It's a really special thing, and so fortunate the town of Jonesboro has that. Alderman, you have anything you'd like to say about that before we call for a vote?
I would. Miss Marion Mckinney is a jewel. If you haven't had the opportunity to meet her, really encourage you to take the chance to get to meet her before she leaves. She is very much a firecracker. Don't let that cane fool you. She's very much a firecracker, and she's been a supporter of me and been an individual to shape my life over the years. Miss McKinney and Dr. McKinney. So I'm glad to be standing on their shoulders, and glad to see this tonight. We'll be able to help a lot of people at the McKinney Center, and it's just good to see the McKinney legacy continuing in this fashion.
Thank you, Adam. Anybody else?
Well, to show her kindness tonight, as she was getting here, I was here, so I was helping her in the door, and we got the door, and she said, "You forgot your mask." So I said, "Thank you," and I went back and got my mask. So she was caring about people.
Absolutely. All right, thank you. Well, Alderman, if I would, I'll take a motion to approve that resolution to establish that scholarship at the McKinney Center.
Mayor, I move to approve.
Got a motion to approve from Alderman Dixon,
Second.
second from Alderman Causey. Any other discussion? All right, very good. Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Calhoun.
All right.
Very good. Motion carried. And I better take that check and give it to our recorder there. She's the keeper of the money. I might end up losing that. All right, we knocked out our consent agenda, and now we're going to move into our regular agenda. First item up is our financial report. Alderman, have you got any comments about our financial report? I think in most cases it looks pretty solid.
Yep.
Move to approve.
All right, got a motion to approve the financial report from Alderman Callahan.
Second.
Got a second from Alderman Causey. Any discussion there? All right, very good. Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Calhoun.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. And of course, I always like to talk about our sales tax revenue, and our recorder, Abby Miller, was nice enough to get that out to us. And we had another, healthy increase, pretty similar. This was really for November, and we're just kind of getting into the nitty-gritty of the holidays here in November, but we came through with really another $30,000 increase, which is about a 20% increase in the sales tax dollars over the same period last year. So we should see that continue up until the point of probably March or April, and then we're going to start comping some pretty strong numbers then when people start shopping like crazy at our grocery stores and Lowe's and so forth. But again, really strong sales tax dollars. And plus our town's growing too, so it's just naturally we're going to be doing well in sales tax. All right, so appreciate that. And next thing's up, just communication from the mayor. And I'm going to, like I said earlier, we got some important things to do, and we did one of them there at the McKinney family. I want to thank Tammy Cloyd, and I think she's here. She sent a nice letter in to us, thanking one of our public safety officers, Officer Reese. Tammy had I think a flat coming into town on a snowy day, and she needed some help. She couldn't necessarily change that herself that day. Went to our dispatcher, I think it was, and asked for some assistance. And Chad went out there and I think made sure everything was safe, and changed that tire for Tammy. And Tammy is a well-regarded citizen of our town, so we appreciate Tammy letting us know that what we know to be true, our public safety guys are just second to none. So we appreciate them continue to do that. And kind of in that same area there in our public works department, we had another email come in from somebody, and it was an anonymous email. Talking about our public works guys were out there, I think, working on a water line on West College Street, and we had a funeral procession going by, and our staff took the time to stop what they were doing, took their hats off, and stood there with respecting the funeral procession as it moved down the street, so someone took the time to make sure they passed that on to how respectful our workforce is. So again, so fortunate to be surrounded by such wonderful people. Speaking of wonderful people, we had a treasurer here in the town, very valuable. I don't know what we'd do without her, but Ruth Verhage, we talked about her earlier. She helps make sure we get this pledge every night, and Ruth was awarded the Governor's Volunteer Star Award for Washington County for all the volunteer efforts that she's done throughout the years. And some of those is really our Jonesboro Flag Project. The reason you see all these flags flying through our town is just so beautiful is something that Ruth got involved in and started and has continued for many years now. And she's also served on the Historic Zoning Commission since 2003. That's a long time, 17 years, and that's why our historic zone looks so well. And in fact, that wasn't enough. Really, that flag committee keeps her busy. But she got involved in a program called Paws and Blues now, which is fundraising for our K-9 officers. I think we got 4 K-9s now that are really valuable to our town. And I think what spurred her interest in that was seeing one of our officers put into a very dangerous situation out on 11E a couple years ago. And if we'd had a K-9 at that point, we probably could have kept our officers out of harm's way, and probably prevented the death of a troubled person that our police had to face that day. So Ruth, thank you for everything you do for our town. And Alderman, if you would, we've got some appointments to our Park and Rec Committee. Matt Townsend's making some recommendations, and I approve them. We'd like to appoint Dr. Jason Davis, I think, back to our board, and then Mark Merriam and Jimmy Ryan, 3 quality people there. If you guys agree, I'd take a motion to approve those 3 reappointments to the Park and Rec Board.
So move.
A motion to approve from Alderman Callahan.
Second.
A second from Alderman Countermine. Any discussion there? Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Countermine.
Aye.
Alderman Halsey.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Okay, 2 more things here, 2 really important things. I'm going to start with the proclamation for Miss Historic Jonesboro. That's Victoria Stamper. And I'm going to come down there again, and I'll try to breathe in my mask a little bit better this time. I think I was about to suffocate. Could have brought me a thinner one or something. We always appreciate people that do volunteer work in the town and really miss Historic Jonesboro. She's a representative of our town. They do great work. Victoria, I'll read this proclamation for you. It says, whereas the Miss Historic Jonesboro Scholarship Pageant is a Miss America preliminary, and whereas the Miss America Scholarship Program represents the largest single source of scholarships for young ladies of this nation, and whereas Victoria Stamper was crowned Miss Historic Jonesboro 2021 at the annual Miss Jonesboro pageant, thereby becoming the official ambassador of Tennessee's oldest town. And whereas Victoria Stamper has established herself as an outstanding role model for young people and is continuing her education at ETSU, majoring in political science with a minor in communication. And whereas Victoria Stamper has chosen organ donation as her social impact initiative. And whereas the town of Jonesboro and its citizens greatly appreciate the individual sacrifice and dedication that Ms. Stamper is and will be showing in representing and promoting her platform and our town. Then now, therefore, be it resolved that this proclamation be issued in honor of Victoria Stamper, Miss Historic Jonesboro 2021, in recognition of her many achievements and accomplishments. Be it also proclaimed that Victoria Stamper is hereby an honorary citizen of the town of Jonesboro, that she be given the key to our town and that she is officially invited to represent Jonesboro at all town functions. Be it further proclaimed that Victoria Stamper be accorded the sincerest congratulations and best wishes in the Miss Tennessee pageant and beyond from the Board of Mayor and Aldermen and the citizens of the town of Jonesboro. May Miss Stamper be continued to be blessed in whatever endeavors she may undertake. We thank you. Let me get you that key to the city.
Yeah, there it is right there.
I think Dan's got it right here.
You gotta figure out where it works.
I know it, man. Terry's talking about that. Beautiful gold key.
Thank you. What is it open?
Well, that's what you'll have to find out when you come to the work for the town. All right.
You have to wear it
Anything
around
you'd
your
like to
neck.
say?
I would like to say I am so very excited to be able to represent historic Jonesboro at Miss Tennessee, and I would like to thank everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Last but certainly not least, we have Employee of the Month. And it's a very heroic one this time. I'm going to take a chance to read this. And our Employee of the Month is Jesse Rice. If you'll come up here, let me read this for you. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
On January 7th, 2021, at 1:51 a.m., the Jonesboro Fire Department was dispatched on a business fire alarm at the Hexpo compounding at 260 Oak State Route 34. Engine 103 quickly left the station with Sergeant Jesse Rice behind the wheel. As Sergeant Rice was responding, fire dispatch advised that the call was no longer a simple alarm, but there had been an explosion that caused injuries and the building was actively on fire. Learning the new information, Sergeant Rice began to work on a plan to attack the fire even before arriving on site. When Sergeant Rice arrived, there was visible flames shooting from the top of the building and one employee in the parking lot with severe injuries. Sergeant Rice assumed fire command and quickly made sure plant management could account for all of its employees. He then immediately began to request manpower from other agencies to tackle the enormous fire. Within 10 minutes of the initial alarm, we had firefighter and fire apparatus en route. A couple of hours into the incident, it was determined that the municipal water supply wouldn't be enough to fight the blaze. A tanker request page was sent out to surrounding counties, and the state started to respond immediately. At one point during the fire attack, Sergeant Rice was responsible for commanding 26 tanker truckers and firefighters from 37 agencies. Sergeant Rice's knowledge, leadership, and calmness under pressure resulted in a successful fire attack with minimal injury. The scope of this incident is larger than most firefighters will ever see. The town of Jonesboro is blessed to be protected by such professional firefighters and the leadership like that of Sergeant Jesse Rice. And that was nominated by Chief Phil Fritz. And we appreciate the heroic night there for yourself and a lot of our firefighters. We certainly appreciate that. Anything you'd like to tell us about that night? Or
I'd like to add something. I think the ones that were there, I know Major Ashcroft can account for that. Everybody made mention of our town services, how everybody worked together, from the street department to them running around, they filled fuel. I think we used approximately, I think they filled 7,000 gallons of diesel that our town employees were running back and forth to the fire engines while we were working. Everybody from as far as Hamlin County Fire Department made mention of how our city service worked. They'd never seen that before. I just want to thank everybody for that.
thank you for pointing that out. As Jesse pointed out there, we had great cooperation from really, fire departments from around the area, volunteer fire departments, and really we've had a agreement with the city of Johnson City for a while where they will send a ladder truck down here when we need it. They've got a little bit larger fire truck up there, and there's some things for that we do for them. We respond, I think, to the Ridges subdivision because we're closer to that subdivision and that development than some of the fire stations up in Johnson City. So we do that for them, and this is a case where us having that agreement with them on that ladder truck really paid off. So we appreciate Johnson City and all the other communities as well. All right, that's all I've got, other than to say thank you to Adam Dixon he led the meeting in January. I wasn't feeling well there, and I went back and watched the meeting afterwards. Did a great job. So thank you, Adam.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Alderman. It's time for Alderman Communications. Anyone have anything here they'd like to address? Virginia? All right. Things just moving right along. All right, town attorney comments. Jim, you got anything for us?
Just to report that we've had a busy month, reviewed more bond documents than probably we ever have before the town in the last 20 years since I've been town attorney. But you've done a fantastic job taking advantage of interest rates on both your existing debt and then your new debt with the school coming on at a fantastic time to take advantage of those rates as well.
All right, thank you, Jim. We thank you for all the work you put in. You do a first-class job, and it's good to have you part of our team here.
Yep.
All right, next is citizens' comments. If you're a resident of Jonesboro or one of our water customers, we'd love to hear from you, good or bad. Anybody got anything they'd like to share with us tonight? All right, very good. All right, we don't have any old business tonight. We're going to jump right into some new business. And the first item on the agenda is discussion and possible action concerning first reading of an ordinance to annex certain property located on North Cherokee Street and the present corporate boundaries of the town of Jonesboro. And this is basically the property that we're going to be building our new Jonesboro school on. Part of it is in the city limits and part of it is not, so we just kind of need to grow our boundaries a little bit and bring it all in here since we own that property. Alderman, you see the recommendation is to approve on first reading the ordinance annexing into Jonesboro corporate limits of Washington County, tax map 52, part of parcel 11. May I get a motion to approve that first recommendation?
So move.
Motion to approve from Alderman Dixon.
Second.
Got a second from Alderman Callahan. Any discussion? Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Calamine.
All right.
All right, and you can see the second item on that is just to zone the property annexed to R1. That's the same property, so may I get a motion to approve
Glenn, you got a
zoning that
question
property
real quick?
R1?
I just wanted to make one edit. In the background, it says December 29th, 2021. I don't want to jump ahead too far. So
Okay,
correct
yes,
that. Let the record correct it to 2020.
in the background there.
Thank
Yeah, we was trying to get out of 2020 as fast as we could,
Yeah.
but yes, in the background there, it's December 29th, 2021. This is when we made the purchase of that property. All right, with that being said, recommendation 2. Anybody got a motion to approve that
So
zone?
moved.
Motion to approve from Alderman Causey,
Second.
second from Alderman Countermine. Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Calamine.
Aye.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
All right, motion carried, so now we've got that entire parcel in our city limits, and it's going to be part of our community for forever. All right, next item on the agenda is for first reading. It's discussion and possible action concerning first reading of an ordinance to annex certain property located on the Old Jonesboro Creek Road, Old Boones Creek Road, and the present corporate boundaries of the town of Jonesboro. And just to kind of make a note here, I talked to Glenn some about this. This is an annexation, which we're certainly supportive of, but it's also, I think, asking us to rezone that property to PRD. And we've been in discussion for a while about making some revisions to that PRD. We've had some parking on the street issues come up in some places, and we've been discussing for a while about, doing some things and revising some things to prevent that. So I just want to make that note that if we approve that PRD tonight, that that PRD will more than likely be revised at the next planning commission meeting and the board of mayor and aldermen at some point. Glenn, you'd like to speak to this?
Sure, Mayor. You have the background in front of you, but and Mr. Tumler, I didn't notice in the audience, Mr. Tumler was going to be here. Basically, hello, sir.
Thank you for being here.
So Mr. Tumler's here, and I talked to him on a couple of different occasions, and I talked to him this evening. And so I just wanted to just read real quick some of the issues we've had with parking on the PRDs in the past, and the Planning Commission is under review right now. A few of the highlights of that is that on-street parking is not permitted in the PRD zoning district. Again, these are proposed to the Planning Commission that meets next week. Off-street parking, some of the ideas behind it is that there be a comprehensive parking plan that's submitted as part of the site development. The 2 spaces per unit shall be provided on each subject parcel. And one is being discussed right now. An example would be 1 space per 8 units shall be provided in a common parking lot in close proximity to the residential structures. That it serves dedicated for off-street visitor and or resident parking. This may be further protected through a development like a homeowners association. The depth of all parking spaces shall be a minimum of 20 feet and shall be shown on the parking plan. The depth must be adequate, that vehicles will be self-contained within said space, and that vehicles will not obstruct or encroach onto the paved public or private road or any sidewalk. So some of the issues we've had in the PRDs wasn't necessarily, some of it maybe was the density, but some of it definitely was the driveways were not deep enough. Cars were either encroaching onto sidewalks, or if there was no sidewalks, might be into the actually paved public or private road. These are those elements that I have talked to Mr. Tumler about. He has experience even in other places, I think, where his brother lives, that has experienced some of these parking issues in those types of developments, and he is, at least unless he says otherwise, he's very much in favor of meeting these requirements. But I wanted to make it clear that we can't put these conditions on the annexation or the zoning, but that he's aware that these are proposed to the Planning Commission for approval and eventually to the board for next meeting. The rezoning is of the 28.4 acres, as your packet has. There's approximately projection of 106 lots. There's a tremendous amount of open space that a lot of people sometimes don't realize with the PRD. What you get for density, you also get an open space and areas that aren't building. The infrastructure was reviewed by each department, specifically water and sewer, and there's not issues with either one for future development. But I did include in the plan of services a little bit more detail that it's up to the developer at the time of annexation to bring back their development plan to planning staff, our engineer as such. Also at that time, stormwater, anything like that will be considered as well. So, some of within our town, we have some sensitive areas that, already have stormwater issues, or just to say there'll be a comprehensive plan that we, of course, look at that as well. That's in the future. The Planning Commission is scheduled to hear it next Tuesday. At that time, they have to review the plan of services. In those plan of services, they'll also review the annexation. They'll also be reviewing the draft version of the PRD, which they already have. So I'll be going to that meeting as well and presenting, the PRD spoken of issues that we've had, that hopefully some of these projected amendments will help for the future. PRD is a very popular zone. Honestly, if you go to some other areas, even though we do say it's very dense, there are some populated areas that are even more dense than our PRD. But we have had some historical issues with them that hopefully this will minimize in the future.
Well, I think our preference has always been really to do PRDs just because it really makes more and more high quality project. And I think even some of the revisions we're talking about, it was really just to make, the developments even better than what they have been in the past. So it's really just tweaking and making things better, I think. So I appreciate you working on that, Glenn.
And one last thing, Mayor, I did want to say that in the future, one thing to look at is the impact of the vehicles, not only within the common development, but also its impact onto our residential streets. So I'll be doing projections on average daily traffic counts and just using, planning and engineering calculations to give an estimate on single family versus duplex or duplex or two family or multifamily, and then run into commercial or industrial.
All right. Well, I drive by this property probably every day, and I've always thought it was already in the town of Jonesboro, but it's good that we're bringing it in now. It's kind of located, I guess, down the hill from Food City area, in that area, down on the Old Boones Creek Road. So it's a great piece of property and going to be a great place for people to call home at some point. Alderman, you got any questions for Glenn?
If we approve this PRD zone tonight and then we make changes, can we legally bind them into the new changes, or do we need to wait? That's a Jim question, I think.
I think if you pass it in the in the ordinance, and it is in the ordinance, that has to be voted on a second time before it would be effective. So I think you're fine with it there. I would not take a separate vote on the zoning tonight. That only has to be passed one time. So I would wait till second reading to do that, and then make a decision whether you're ready to put it in PRD or whether it needs to go to something else until you're ready. But it's okay, because we can always change it on second reading in the ordinance. So I think you're fine on your ordinance, and I think I just would not take the separate vote on the PRD zone.
So we need to take section 4 out? You're
No,
saying?
it's okay in the, what you did in your last, a few minutes ago in the last annexation was you took a separate vote on the zoning,
Right.
which is what we've always done, and not necessarily had it in the ordinance. And I don't want you to take a separate vote on the zoning tonight. That's recommendation 3. I think you should hold off on that, because it's really a resolution, only has to be passed one time, and it can be done on second reading. So if everything's ready to go, you can pass it next time on second reading, and you're done.
Okay, so we're going to be talking about recommendations 1 and 2.
And then we can add 3 at the second reading. After
Right, Jim?
That's correct. Plan of services is also just a one-time thing, but it doesn't hurt anything to go ahead and pass it now. If it gets amended, you can pass it again the second time.
All right, any other questions, Alderman? All right, if not, I will take a recommendation to approve points 1 and 2 only.
So moved.
Motion to approve from Alderman Callahan,
Second.
and got a second from Alderman Countermine. Any other discussion? Call the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman
All right.
Martin. Alderman Coxey.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. We'll address that PRD at our next planning commission and our next board meeting, but we're excited about having this project come to our town. So appreciative for you purchasing that property and helping the town of Jonesboro grow. All right, next item on our agenda is discussion of possible action concerning approval of a preventative maintenance mechanic position.
Yeah.
You see all the background there. All right, Craig.
Mayor, 2 things on this I'd like to point out. One is, I know I've got a former math teacher just rolling over in their grave at this egregious error that I made on this document that the finance director was all too happy to point out to me first thing this morning. And I'm pretty sure it was my calculator, but if you look down the next last paragraph, I had in there that 45% of this, of our garage operation is funded by general fund, and that's actually 34%. funded by general fund and 66 from water fund. The other comment that I wanted to make, and again, I guess I was having a week. I meant to put in the fact that we actually have 219 vehicles in our fleet currently. And again, certainly more than half those are from our water fund. But you got to bear in mind, the one thing that I have preached for years is we need to do a much better job on preventive maintenance. That's the life of any vehicle, especially that heavy equipment. And basically, right now, we have 2 mechanics trying to keep a fleet of 219 vehicles on the road, and that's anything from fire trucks to police cruisers to track hose to garbage trucks to regular passenger vehicles. So it's a very tall order to do. And again, I guess because of my math mess up last week, Abby didn't really allow me to tell you how it is we're going to pay for this. But we did talk about this position last year during our budget process, and we did say that we would come back and look at this requested position again mid-year. So that's why that is back in front of you this evening. And again, I would just recommend, if the funding can be found, it's a difficult position to basically have 2 mechanics trying to keep a fleet of 219 vehicles on the road, much less have any kind of meaningful preventive maintenance program.
Well, certainly, caring for the vehicles, make them last longer, and that's something that the town of Jonesboro's always done. So, yeah, preventive maintenance is how you get there. And, as we grow as a town, I think two mechanics is less than we, would have had a few years ago. I guess we need to certainly look at that.
And they, as they would say down on the farm, when Jonesboro gets rid of a vehicle, we've wrung all the good out of it. So I mean, we.
Yeah. All right. Well, first we don't keep Craig and hire him for his math skills. So if you're all right there.
Thank you, sir.
I know he finished his education at Daniel Boone High School, so I'll just point that out.
I think it's a good point, though, as we're growing. Same with Parks and Rec. They need more people.
Right.
We have to be aware as we are growing that we need more staff to keep things going the way we need them.
Right.
And this is one example.
And part of this agenda item, it's got, they really even need to talk about point 2 and 3. There's really no changes there. I think we just need to really talk about recommendation 1, which is, subject to funding. Really the other 2 is really taking no action, I don't think. So.
I think this is a great move, but I think it should just come out of general and water, since solid waste is already so far
Oh, yeah.
in the red. So
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to go ahead and approve it with the funds coming from general and water. And we just have to find it.
All right, Virginia's got a motion to approve that recommendation 1 with the funds coming out of general and water and subject to funding from those areas, and I'd agree with that. Any
Second.
other discussion? We got a second from Alderman Countermine.
I would like to hear Glenn's
I don't have any good sayings like Craig does on the farm.
He's up here to admit his
But I-
math mistakes. I guess you gonna do that too?
No, he was already in trouble this morning. I'm a team player. I did also want to say that the level of service of these vehicles, especially on the electronic end of things and the technical side, and as Craig's saying, over 200 vehicles, all of them moving. So I do think it's a testimony of the citizens and others that are commenting and in different aspects, seeing whether it's our officers or our street department, all over kind of, different places working projects. So we're not idle, so that means that we are putting a whole lot of time and effort into our vehicles. So I appreciate that, and we will find the money to fund the position, and hopefully by the next meeting, we'll have a candidate before you with the funds available for the candidate.
Yeah, very good. It's, certainly needed. All right, we got a motion and a second. Approve recommendation 1. Any other discussion? Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Carmine.
Aye.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
All right, you guys go to work and find us some funding, because that's certainly something needed. All right, next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action concerning approval of a bid for a pool liner for the Wetlands Water Park. And periodically, that's another maintenance thing. You got to do that. I think it's
So we don't talk
many
about
years
the-
ago when we last replaced that liner. Looks like we got a pretty good bid back on that. So Craig?
We only vote on one.
Fortunately, we got the figures from the bid, so I didn't have to do any math on this one. So what you've got in front of you should be pretty good.
It's the only thing,
Again, if you will remember, during budget time, we had talked about some financing with some capital outlay note to do some different projects throughout the town that we've talked about for several years that we hadn't been able to do, and we did that. At the time, we did talk about the need for this pool liner, and it would really need to be replaced before this season. So I think Miss Abby went back and looked the last time that we did a note at the Wetlands facility. We did that on a 5-year capital outlay note, and so I discussed that at length with her, and she feels like that the 5-year capital outlay note would be okay. I had also asked during that budget process afterwards, I'd asked Matt to look at any other improvements that needed to be done at Wetlands, and he felt like most everything else that needs to be done at Wetlands before we reopen could be handled in-house other than this liner. And again, you can look at the background information. We're competing with other facilities now in Upper East Tennessee, and even though we had a limited opening of our season last year, this one particular slide remained pretty much closed for the season because of the condition of the liner. So I feel like this is something that we just really need to do before we open our season this year, and hopefully have a much better season than what we did last year. But that liner is going to have to be replaced to accomplish that. So I think the recommendation would be just to secure a 5-year capital outlay note just for the purpose of funding the replacement of this pool liner at the low bid.
All right, thank you, Craig, and yeah, certainly, a large tear in a liner can certainly, cost us money down the road too, so certainly got to keep an eye on that. Glenn, you got something to add?
No, just that, this would give us an opportunity, and Abby ran a 5-year projection based on a 2.22% interest rate on 5 years, and it's about $35,000 a year based on that. So that's the one way to go. I think 5 years is very doable. We don't want to go any further. We are on a segue to another thing. We're looking at the refunding of debt, so we're going to be kind of hearing a little bit the next day or two about the market and where the interest rates are. So anything less, or if it's not in that ballpark, I'll be able to report that back to the board immediately and kind of tell you, hey, 2.22%, yay or nay, whether or not we're close to that or better or worse. I don't think it'll be much worse than that. I think they're staying low as that. The other thing is we would be, if we're taking out a bond, anything like that, we have to come back to the board for approval of such resolutions that authorize the issuance of debt.
All right, very good. Well, you certainly got to make investments in your facilities, and, Wetlands is a place that we try to, at minimum, break even, but, we've had some, great revenue produced down there, and I like talking about it this time because we've got time to react on whether it was our fees we charged there to kind of help compensate that $30,000 a year. So sell a little bit more food, get a few more people to visit, hopefully.
Mayor, I'd like to point out too that we are putting aside $10,000 a month towards future debt service, and our reserve is building pretty healthy. It's pretty healthy already, so we'll have the money set aside to pay this debt service when it comes to.
All right, now you're just showing off over there.
Now, as a joke, the minutes may not reflect that, but no. But Abby does a excellent job. I mean, because you're talking about the ebb and flow of finances, and then, as Abby's saying, she is looking into the future for us, which is saving us on reserves.
All right.
Move to approve.
All right, we got a motion to approve from Alderman Countermine.
Second.
Second from Alderman Callahan. We have any discussion about that? Mr. Wheeler?
Mayor, I wanted to ask one question. Of course, I just got this when I got my packet today, but if we've had several problems with liners in the past that they've had to get me involved in, and I think, if I recall correctly, that what we've been able to hang our hat on was language that was in our bid specifications about the warranty. And I don't see that in these bid specifications. There is warranty language in the bid from the Renosys, or whatever the name is. But the thing that I think has saved us before is we had some specific language that all costs regarding the repair were included, or something to that effect. I don't know if language was taken out this time when we bid it, or if it was we came up with it from scratch, or what.
Was this the similar bid document as the last bid document?
And I may be mistaken on that, but it would, to move this thing forward and be able to still look at that, if we could make it subject, your approval, subject to our looking at the, because that has, I mean, I bet we've had at least 5 or 6 repairs that they wanted to charge us thousands and thousands of dollars for, that we just insisted they make and have gotten them done. And that could be important down the road.
Terry, you add that to
Yeah,
your
I'll modify
motion?
mine to subject to,
Review by town attorney?
yeah.
And I apologize that I didn't get a chance to look at this in time to
That-
bring that up.
Thank
ahead
you,
of time.
Jim.
All right, Stephen, you good with that change?
Yeah, I'm great.
All right. Any other discussion, Alderman? All right, call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
All right, motion carried. Next item on the agenda is discussion of possible act concerning the Little League Baseball 2021 season. And as you can see there, we've got one of our own, I guess, leading the Little League down there, so it's great to see that. Jamie, appreciate you stepping up there to do great work for our youth of our area. Alderman, you got any comments or questions about that before Glenn jumps in here?
And I would say that we asked the president not to bring his motorcade because of the limited parking.
Just this once.
Make Little League great again down there, Jamie.
I just wanted to add that Matt did a great job, just in communications with Little League, as you know, with COVID-19, and even though numbers are looking better as far as transmission rates, we're still using protocols that we deem to be good mitigation strategies for COVID during sports time. So Craig had I think a great idea as far as the bleachers, which of course attract you into congregating. And so removal of those, people usually use their own seats as well. So give him kudos for that. It was a great idea. If he wasn't here, I would have said it was mine, but
Yep.
it did take a great work from Matt and Craig and Little League thinking through on how to have a healthy season.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Appreciate what Little League does for around the country. Alderman, is there any discussion? We got 3 recommendations there. If not, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
A motion to approve from Alderman Causey,
I'll second, Mayor.
second from Alderman Dixon. Any discussion? Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Causey,
Aye.
Alderman Dixon,
Aye.
Alderman Callahan,
Aye.
Alderman Quinlan.
Aye.
All right, motion carried, so that's exciting. Going to have a safe Little League season at Persimmon Ridge Park, so appreciate that. And now we've got an update and presentation on our website and marketing efforts by the valuable Cameo Waters.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Terry Alexander is going to join me. I'm going to give Amber just a minute. She's going to pull the website up on the screens here on both monitors so we can take a look. Most of you have already seen it, but for some of you it'll be your first look. So we're very excited. Today is our first official day of the launch, and the public can now view this. So this has been a really big project, especially for our website manager, Terry Alexander. She's actually been working with this website for over 10 years. But I think since the redesign started back in July and August, she's probably learned and seen this website from a different angle than ever before. I think we all have. It's been a really big team project. Amber Crumley and Melinda Kopp have been really helpful with this. Just the amount of content that was on the site that we had to go through, we had to proof, we had to update. It was really beneficial to have them part of that. And then also part of the team was Net360s with Six Rivers Media. So Jason Willis is here tonight. If we have any questions for him, a really big thank you to them for making this happen. So a few of our big goals with this site was to make it more user-friendly for residents or potential residents. Just the navigation has changed just a little bit to make that more simple, as well as it being more mobile-friendly. We also wanted to make sure that the website was very welcoming to everyone. So you'll see that throughout. We'll touch on that a little bit more. One component of that is the ADA compliance. We're really excited about that part of the website. With this site, we do have daily updates, things changing all the time. It's very fluid, which is how it should be. It will evolve. But with that, we will continue to work with Six Rivers Media on the monthly ADA scans to make sure it's where it needs to be. So currently, we have a score of 93% out of 100, which is very good. So we're really excited about that. It's a great place to start. But I'm going to pass it over to Terry and let her go ahead and give a quick tour of the homepage.
Thank you.
I know some of you all know how much the JonesboroTN.org was my favorite, and I didn't think that we would ever have anything again that could handle that much information. And fortunately, due to Net360, they proved me wrong. So it is an incredible amount of information, and like Cameo said, we had to get people to it quickly. So what you'll see on the homepage is that menu across the top is pretty much what it was before, almost the same headings. However, when you go to each one of those, you will actually go to a page that then expounds on all that. Before, you had to get that from a drop-down. You can see on she's showing. So those blocks will be on every parent page as it is. The upper left on the full menu, that's kind of what was on the previous website across the top. Some people are more familiar doing that and going out from the arrow and seeing, sort of the sideway drop down. Some people are not. So we've given, 2 different experiences there. And then again, throughout the site, there'll be other ways that you can actually go to each one of these features. Just to point out a few things that are on the home page, because going through the whole website would take us all night. But one of the first strips right there is that we've got right now our 4 most important things for people to be able to get to. And these were particularly important with COVID because people weren't coming into town hall for business and whatnot. So, and we have found that we're getting very few brought in or mailed in job applications. Most people are doing all of that online now. So, and people are also, I mean, we've had a little bit of break in the tickets, but people are definitely getting used to that also. So on the left-hand side there, as Amber goes down to the announcements, this is a place that I always wanted on the past website, and we didn't really have one that worked very well. But it's kind of a bulletin board in my mind, or like Amber's marquee in front of the visitor center. It's things that we can very easily change out to update the public. The police department has a program, like when we don't have have that all be full, we can feature one of the programs that they do regularly that maybe not everybody knows about. And then as other news comes up, we just take that down. So I think that area will be one where we feature all of our different departments. You know, if something were to happen like street closures and changes in the garbage pickup and whatnot, that could go there. And there's several ways throughout the website that you could get to that information. So I think that's going to be a really well-used area. The calendars there on the right-hand side, we're still experiencing a little bit of growing pains with those. But any calendar to have to take care of as many activities and events and classes and whatnot that go on in Jonesboro would be hard-pressed to keep up. So you can go ahead and go down. Yeah, keep going, please. Yeah, there. Okay, so this is one area here where, well, we have our mayor, and if his particular comments to the residents would change, this would be where we would do that. We also added there to the left the quick links. We wanted there to be a place for easy BMA information. So the next regularly scheduled meeting, when you have a budget meeting, whatnot, would all go into that place. This would also be where the links, where the live stream would be for people to be able to watch that. That second blocks, I think, is really going to help us because our calendar is so full, and we also have so many different boards and committees that meet. We've dedicated one calendar to be all of those. So we'll be able to, can you go to that for just a second? Yeah. Yeah, will it go there? Yeah. So people can just open that one calendar. That's where we'll send people when there is meetings and whatnot going on. If things get changed, we can show that easily there. And this will make it much easier for us to put the links for the agenda and for the minutes of meetings that, people are particularly interested in finding. We also have the holidays on there. A lot of people ask what happens to the garbage schedule when the town has a holiday. So we do put that somewhere. We have a holiday schedule, but this will be another place where we can call out. Somebody can look, do I still have my same garbage on President's Day? Yes, they will. So, okay, the next feature on that page, okay, couple more links there that I didn't mention. Town leadership. We're actually going to see that in several places also, but this is where the information and contacts for our leadership will be kept. They'll also be able to hit email and get a hold of people. The commissions, committees, and boards section, this was a huge plus that Net 360 helped with us. We had a really cumbersome amount of boards and how they were put together and who was on which ones were committees, which ones were boards, which ones were commissions. So they really simplified this for us, and people can go just directly to the blog now. I think that's going to be a big help. And we've already had historic zoning, they were one of our beta testers, and they were very happy with the way that worked out. And then that goes down into the leadership, of course, our main leadership team, and then all of the departments and the department heads, and those will eventually be links to their page, which, you know, you'll be able to get all the information about what's going on in those departments. Okay, I think I'll come to that later. Okay, then if we just go further down, just going down the page, the frequently asked questions really hasn't changed too much. That's pretty much the same. We'll just link people to that in several areas. We put the Employee of the Month on there as a little bit bigger feature than it was before. You know, like as you've pointed out, the Employee of the Month tonight, those are people that really deserve our thanks, and so we want to feature them prominently. So that'll be just changed out every month. And then I think as you go down, this is one of the image galleries we have. These pictures can be changed out, say quarterly or seasonally, whatever. If there are events that come up, these are easily switched out. But this will also tie into another image gallery that Cameo is going to talk about in just a minute. Okay, and then the last thing on this page, right there, sort of our footer, the red part of it is just links directly to all of our other websites. And then in the teal part, that's just our, you know, sort of housekeeping. Contact us. You mentioned a few letters that you've gotten tonight. That's where a lot of those come, is directly to the website. They just click on that, and, you know, then we sort of distribute it to where that needs to go. That is another place that will lead to the announcements there. And then the public records requests, which is just something we need to do. And then that paragraph there is about our ADA. And there will be portions throughout the website that explain that if you are handicapped or disability and you're having trouble reaching a different piece of information or whatever, we will have contact information. I think that actually goes to Phil, and they will get put in touch with whoever can provide that information to those people in whatever manner they need it. So I think that's about it. And Cameo is going to talk about the About section.
Can I ask one question?
Yes.
The rolling ticker up there, is that, are you able to, okay, good, you can click on that? And
Yes.
So
You
if we
click on
had,
that.
if we had some upcoming events, you could click on that and go to that?
We had up there on that and like the leaf pickup. So you click on that and it would go to the leaf, you know, that information about that. And then we take that down and switch it out with whatever comes up, whatever needs to be highlighted.
I get people who will contact me and ask, you know, how can they, you know, watch this meeting online at night? So maybe on the day of our meetings, that could
That's
scroll
a good
across
idea.
and they can just
Yeah.
click on that quickly rather than having to go down and search for it.
Right, great idea. We can do that.
Will school closings be there?
In the past, we have
That's
not
what people ask me all the time.
listed school closings on the municipal website.
Okay.
We can look into that. All right, Amber, let's jump to the About section. Just a quick second. There's two things we want to highlight here. One is our history. So we're really lucky to have the Heritage Alliance here in Jonesboro. They were really, really beneficial with this page. They helped us to elevate it, add a lot to it. This is a really good section where we can kind of brag about our diverse history and the culture that we've had here in the past in Jonesboro. It's really shaped us today in a lot of ways. So this was a great way to be able to do that on this page. And then Amber, let's go ahead and jump back to About. And let's go to the Town Gallery for just a moment. Terry already touched on the mini gallery we have on the home page, but this is something else we have, this is a new feature, this was not on the past website, but just a really nice place for us to put a variety of photos, whether it's rental facilities, events, just some of our people at work, whatever it may be. This is a nice place to do that. Right now, social media is kind of our gallery that we update, but not everybody has a social media account, so this will be a good place for them to see more. Okay, Terry, you want to touch on the last one? Last part?
Okay, the last part that we were going to go over, like I said, there's plenty there for you all to review in your free time. But the town services has always been what I consider to be one of the most important sections. And that's because there's a space there for every department to be featured, for their outstanding employees, for all the different kind of work that they do. This time around, we really tried to get the department heads to highlight information that their workers do that the general public probably doesn't know about. It's just, it's kind of one of those everyday things. One of the departments that we picked, or the department we picked, just to give you an example, was Parks and Recreation. And part of that is because this is one of the departments with the larger amount of information. I think Parks and Rec and the Police Department are probably our two departments with the most information about them. But every department page will have sort of a call out at the top about something a little unique about what they do. Matt's got here, there is no off season. Other people may have off seasons, but Parks and Recreation doesn't, because there's always stuff going on. Of course, we can say that about a lot of the other departments also. There will be contact information throughout the page for them to email. Excuse me, and I'm getting dry. We're also going to show more of the actual employees that do the backup work, and I'm not going to be able to talk much more. So go down a little bit. Let's see if we can maybe just go. So we're going to have information about trails. Okay, sorry, you're going to have to do it.
I got it. I'm brief. You guys will like me. So this is just a really good way to show all the parks that we have. Some nice photos. And then at the bottom of the page, we have the whole list. Go a little bit more. Of the advisory board for Parks and Rec. So the departments that do have an advisory board will have each individual listed there, if they're a representative from a certain organization or whatever it may be. So that wraps up the website. You guys are kind enough to give me a few more minutes. So Amber, if you'll go ahead and open up the other portion. We're going to blast through really fast just a couple of marketing updates in addition to the website. 2020 was a really big year for us from a marketing standpoint. With COVID, it gave us a lot of opportunity to do more and to expand. We had to get extremely creative, but when the pandemic hit, we came out with a campaign, We're Here For You. Our small businesses were doing a really good job of being creative, whether it's online shopping, curbside, or delivery. So we worked really hard to adapt our website, social media, all of that. We did a ton of videos, billboards, and there's some data up there to kind of see our numbers, which reflect that. We also did a marketing co-op which focused outside of the region a little bit more. The other one was a little bit more local. The 5.2 million impressions were really great. It was really impressive for us.
What does impressions mean?
Impressions, since,
Click?
well, this isn't just clicks because it's billboards, it's a few different things. So it's like a reach or clicks or engagement.
So somebody saw something about Jonesboro.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it says there are most impressions and reach in Atlanta, so folks in Atlanta saw something about Jonesboro.
Yes.
Now, is there any way to determine, like, when we say Atlanta, are we talking North Atlanta? Are we talking Alpharetta? Are we talking...
Sure.
Really?
With our analytics, the beautiful thing about digital analytics, it can get us exact ideas of all of that. But Atlanta is one of our really big drive markets, so we try to always hit them.
And you know kind of what people are people in Atlanta, what are they searching for in Jonesboro? Can you narrow that down?
Yes, yeah.
What their interests
And their
are?
interests, the other things that they may already like on social media, how long they stayed on the page, how far down the page they got, depending on what type of media they were consuming.
Now, in my world, co-op means we share cost with somebody. What's co-op mean there when you say marketing co-op?
It does. We did it with the region through the Northeast Tennessee Tourism Association. There are a few different marketing directors that got together and produced this. It gave us a lot larger of a reach, more money, so we could reach more people.
Excellent.
And then I know I've touched on this a few times, but we're just so thankful for the state and the money that they were able to provide us. And so there are a few snapshots of some of the creative that we did with the funds they gave us with a few different projects. The drive-in movie was also funded through this program. And lastly is our visitor guide. I know you all received a copy back in the end of December, beginning of January. But our visitor guide is really our biggest marketing tool that we have. Even though print's definitely declining, it's not for us. Every year we have better numbers with how many people picked it up and how soon we run out. So it's a great thing. We also have it online and the digital copy. We shared that a lot, and we do have this distributed at 537 locations. So that wraps it up for us. Do you guys have any questions about anything?
That's impressive, yeah.
I'm impressed. Thank you. Thank you all, thank you.
Now,
Is that the web guy over there? Thank you. Terry speaks highly of you.
some of the things that we talked about, is it already on here?
Some of them are, yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir. It'll be under About and under History, and I can share that specific link with you. All right, thank you, guys.
Alderman, any other questions or comments for the tourism and marketing team? I think it's a great job, great addition, and, yes.
Just for the sake of conversation, I guess for the minute, very pleased with the marketing team. We've had conversations about how can we make this site, and I'll just say in general, our collateral more inclusive. I think there's a positive way to go about some of these issues. They don't have to be prickly and controversial. It really reflects Jonesboro's unique story. And so, and we have a beautiful story to tell, and I'm proud of that story, and I think that we ought to be proud of it, and I think we ought to tell it. And so, Ms. Waters just shared with me that if I take a little bit of time to look for it, I'll be able to find it. So she's going to show it to me. It's on here, that hopefully we can broadcast to larger audiences that unique story of how we're a very special community. And I'm pleased with the fact that it's there for the public to see.
Well, a good example of that, tonight was, really we've got the success and the contribution from Ruth and the award that she won, but also, the McKinney family on what they're, doing for our community. And, we have things like that happen. This is the place we'll go, share that and let people see the greatness of our town. Yep. Alderman, anything else? Thank you, Adam.
Good.
All right. If not, I think that wraps it up.